Data sets and distributions. Students will study how data can be analyzed to draw conclusions about a real-life situation. Unit vocabulary. Deviation, dot plots, histograms, interquartile range, mean, mean absolute, median, quartiles, statistical questions, and variability. Students might think that if the response to a question requires counting or some kind of analysis, the question is statistical. Though statistical questions do require analysis, the starting point for distinguishing a statistical question to see whether the data used to answer it have variability, which would then determine if analysis is called for. In other words, a data set that shows no variability, for example, has the same value for all data points or has only a single data point, would not require analysis. These three questions are examples of statistical questions. For example, what is the most common color of the cars in the school parking lot? There may be several different answers, such as red, black, white. An example of question that is not statistical would be, what color is the principal's car? The principal only has one car, of which would be only one color, such as white. Histograms are best used when data is very spread out, when there are not very many data points with the same value, or when an overall idea of the distribution is more important than a detailed view. Histograms can be used to show the distribution of a numerical data set, but unlike a dot plot, a histogram shows the frequencies of groups of values rather than individual values. Students will read and interpret histograms in context to prepare them to create a histogram on their own. The mean is often used as a measure of center of a distribution. This is because the mean of a distribution can be seen as the balance point for the distribution. Why is this a good way to think about the mean? Well, let's look at a very simple set of data on the number of the travel time in minutes of Diego. The balance point is where the arrow is. It shows the middle between the 7 and 14 balance point called the average. If I was to add up 7, 9, 12, 13, and 14, I would get 11. These are my data points. Below, Andre's travel time average is 14 because the data is 12, 12, 13, 16, 17. He has bigger data, so his average is larger. We can say the distribution of Diego's travel time has a center at 11 because that is its balance point, and that the 5 travel times on average took 11 minutes. However, the distribution of Andre's travel time has a center at 14 minutes because that is its balance point, and that the 5 travel times on average took 14 minutes. It's easier to ask, who traveled the fastest? It took Andre an average of 14 minutes, and it took Diego's travel an average of 11 minutes. So we know that Andre had the slower time, which means Diego was the quicker time. Students will learn to partition a data set into fourths. Each of the 3 values that cut the data into the fourth is called a quartile. The median, which cuts the data into a lower half and an upper half, is the second quartile. The first quartile is the middle value of the lower half of the data. The third quartile is the middle value of the upper half of the data.